This is Stacy Marshall with Printwear Magazine.
Matt Vassallo with the RhinestoneWorld.com.
Richard Greaves with ScreenMaking.com.
Brian Walker with RTP Apparel.
This is Peter Walsh with M&R, and you're listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
Podcast hosted by
Terry Combs.
Terry Combs.
Terry Combs.
And
Aaron Montgomery.
Aaron Montgomery.
Aaron Montgomery.
Keep on listening.
I don't know if these guys are that regular.
That always makes me smile. Well, welcome into the show. It is Friday, October 22nd, 2021. I'm Terry Combs, and you can find me at terrycombs.com.
And I'm Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me over at oursuccessgroup.com. Yes, it always makes me smile too. That Richard Greaves, what a great guy. Today, Terry, we are going to welcome in Sheila Ryan, and she's going to talk with us about all sorts of things, but around the creative process, embroidery, good embroidery design principles, and some new projects that she's working on and cooking up, so to speak. So excited. We haven't had Sheila on before, but she's a listener and doing all sorts of great stuff in the embroidery world and just in the design world in general. So lots of good tips and information coming today, Terry. So I'm excited.
Yeah, you know, Aaron, and don't, if you're not an embroiderer, don't feel like this show will be not for you, because we're going to be talking about the creative process and things like that. So things that are pertinent to all of us as decorators.
Absolutely. And, so that's why Terry's here. I know I'm an embroiderer now, but that,
True.
No,
I haven't had my 15 minutes of
At some point, people are going to start getting mad about me pretending this way. But anyhow, no, I'm always excited. And like you said, there's always something to take away, whether it's your process or not. Again, the creative process in general is good for all of us. So this is going to be great. And Sheila's such an awesome person that just having some time with Sheila is worth it right there too. So
there you go. Exactly.
Yeah. Let's check in with a couple of the regulators before we get too far away though here, Terry. We've got Cindy says, I hope you all have a great show. I have to be out this morning, so hopefully she'll catch it on the replay. I'm sure she will. We've got Dale checking in. Good morning, Dale. And Lyndon checking in from North Carolina. And we've got Christine here. Good morning, Christine. And Gustav from Sweden. And Richard, good morning to you, sir. And I've got Brian from Embrilliance checking in as well. And excited to have Brian along too. Terry, so we've got, you're back. How was your trip? First off,
it was awesome. Thanks for asking. Yeah, last week, when you guys announced the categories for the Reggie Awards, I was in New York City. My son got married in Brooklyn at a beautiful venue, and we had a really awesome 4-day trip to New York City, and weather was awesome, and got to go down to the 9/11 Memorial and Museum. We did the Statue of Liberty deal, and wow. Lots of different things there in the city. So lots of fun. Got to see family that I haven't seen for a while, that came in for the wedding. So
good.
And yeah, it was,
nice.
It was a very cool deal. So how were the announcements last week for the Reggie Awards?
So you're not going to believe this, but Eric and I did go a little long.
What?
not as long as I thought we might, but no, it was great. It was a great conversation, lots of interaction from the regulators, just kind of, talking about what the Reggies, the spirit of the Reggies is all about. It's about recognizing people that are doing good things for the industry, and not necessarily about, the other competition side of it, but excited that we've got all stuff happening. The winners will get the mug. This is last year's mug. We'll make a new mug for them. They also get a plaque. And then this year, we're also tossing in a 5 keys from my company, Our Success Group. We've got a online training program that the winners will get, that they can either use themselves or they can give away to somebody in their community if they're not in need of that type of training. So that's a new thing this year, Terry. And so we're doing that. Nominations are open. We've been getting a number of nominations already. I kind of keep my eye on the numbers. I think we've got about 50 nominations so far. So after the first week, that's pretty darn good. So make sure you're getting your nominations in. If you're watching the video portion, Eric's got it on screen right now. But for those of you listening on the podcast side, if you'll go to tworegularguys.com/Reggies, REGGIES, and that will get you where you need to go. The rule that, and I know you know all of this stuff, Terry, but just in case, right? We're just a reminder.
Right.
So there's 10 categories, and so we could get people to do a little homework. It's not just go in and vote for your one favorite person or your one favorite product or whatever. Is we've asked the listeners, the people that are nominating, to do a little homework, make sure that they get at least 7 categories filled out. If there's 2 or 3 that you just can't come up with somebody, that's totally fine. But fill out at least 7 categories, and so it's been cool. It's been cool to see. Like I said, I'm just looking at the numbers. I haven't looked at the nominations. I turned in my nominations right away because, again, for folks that aren't familiar with the Reggies, this is an industry-driven award show where we have no say in who's the winners, who's being nominated, any of that stuff.
Right.
We are just the facilitators, so to speak. So, in fact, we talked about, Terry, and I'd love your take on this real quick before we get to Sheila here. We talked about the fact that actually the show that we do to announce the nominees in Eric and I's mind was actually probably the most important show that we do each year, because it just allows people to learn about new people, learn about people that are doing things, and be able to recognize the people that are putting in the effort to improve the industry. So real quick, your take on that.
Well, yeah, Aaron, and we always talk about the fact that we've both been in the industry a long time, and we feel like we know everyone, but there's always somebody who wins an award that we've never met before, and
Sure.
And it's always great, which means that our listeners probably haven't met that person yet either, and it just kind of broadens our group of regulators, group of friends in the industry. And Aaron, and you mentioned this, and I think it's really important, the fact that these awards, these nominations are from the industry. The voting is from the industry. There's no committee somewhere that's saying, okay, here are the Academy Award nominees for Best Picture. There's no committee doing that. It's you guys. It's the listeners. It's you sharing it with your following as well, and on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you are. It's you sharing this information, and hey, it's okay to say, if you don't mind, vote for me.
Sure. Yeah. And like you said, there's no committee, and so it's just a difference, right? There's a place for those types of committee awards and things like that, where, it's kind of curated. But that's not what this is. And there's a place for that. Now, that does bring some unique challenges, right? People want to win. We're competitive. We're humans. But at the same time, like I said, as you were mentioning there, it's all about kind of growing the industry, growing the support mechanism we have. Ali Bandholzer said something to me one time that was just, I think it's a really great way to look at things. Is, we always talk about, you're on the same boat. When challenges, we had a pandemic that we're still dealing with and that kind of thing. So, but what she said is, we might not all actually be on the same boat, but we're all in the same ocean, right? And so
right.
If we can, have more people around us, more boats around us that can help us navigate the difficult storm when it comes, I think that just is going to improve everybody's business. So I think that's kind of the spirit of what the Reggie Awards are all about. So.
Yeah. I think Eric's boat, I wish he would move his a little bit further away from my boat, because it's pretty loud. Because when he's spinning tunes over there as E-Rich, the DJ, it's like, man, we're trying to sleep over here in my boat.
Wow. It's been a little while. You can tell Terry was gone last week. Good.
I have a lot of built up.
That's right. All right. Well, real quick, one more time. So if you want to get your nominations in after the show today, head over to the number 2. Thanks for the reminder there, Eric. To the number 2 regularguys.com/Reggies, REGGIES. In fact, if you miss the S, I think it still gets you there. But either way, so head over there, get your nominations in. 1 nomination per email. And if you made your nominations and you want to change them, just go back in and do it again and use the same email and it'll just overwrite it. So there you go.
And what does Reggie's mean? Regular guys. All right.
There you go. There you
For
go.
anybody who
I love
doesn't
it.
know.
Yes, that one was made by Terry. I love it. So congratulations on on that. All right, Terry. Well, we are on the precipice here of Halloween, that time of year. In fact, my son has trunk or treat at his school tonight.
Nice.
So we'll have a massive bag of candy that I got to figure out how to get rid of without eating it all myself. Do you have a dad joke that might be in said spirit?
I do indeed. Speaking of spirits, here's my dad joke. Okay, here goes. Why do demons and ghouls hang out together?
I don't know why they hang out together, Terry.
Because demons are a ghoul's best friend. Picture Marilyn Monroe.
Demons.
Come on, that was a good
ghoul's
one.
Best friend. Yes. Let's check. So Terry and I get the behind the scenes action over here. So we always go and check in with Eric and see how much head shaking is going on. It's fairly substantial this time, Terry. So I think you've hit a home run. All right. Well, Christine says, okay, I have to admit that made me laugh. So we're good. And then thanks for being here, Martha and Michelle and Crystal. We're just getting started. We're about to bring on Sheila here in just a moment, so you haven't missed too much yet. And then Vicky, good morning to you as well. All right, Terry. Well, let's keep moving forward so we can get to Sheila.
Yeah, Aaron, we want to thank everybody who's checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast today. If you are, we are always looking for new guests. And if you are interested in being a guest or would like to suggest someone, go to calendly.com/2 regular guys with your show ideas. And even if you just have an idea about a show you'd like to hear, go on there and suggest it. If you are listening to the podcast version of our show, we would appreciate you sharing the Two Regular Guys with all your industry friends so they can become regulators too. And we would appreciate you giving us a review on any of the podcast locations where you might be listening right now: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Amazon Podcasts. We're everywhere, thanks to Aaron.
Sorry.
And if you're watching us live right now, please join in with your comments and questions. And Aaron, I think we have a word from OSG.
Yes, let's do that, and then we'll get Sheila in here.
Hi, small business owners. Our Success Group has just released a new webinar that will really help you set up the right foundation for success. A good foundation is so important because it helps us make better decisions when faced with a challenge, create more profit, and get your time back. Sign up for the 30-minute on-demand webinar, 5 proven foundations every small business needs at oursuccessgroup.com/proven. You will learn what foundations you need to focus on to grow your business. Go to oursuccessgroup.com/proven, PROVEN, to sign up for this no-charge webinar today. It's only available for a limited time, so don't miss out.
All right. Well, check that out. I'd love to also hear any feedback that anybody that's watched and what did you get out of it? So certainly reach out to me. You can do so anywhere. You can find me anywhere. So, as Terry said, we're everywhere. So we're
everywhere.
Awesome. All right, Terry. Well, are you ready to bring in Sheila here?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get started.
All right. Well, Sheila Ryan has been digitizing embroidery designs professionally for nearly 4 years and sewing for boutiques and custom orders for the last 15 years. Not being afraid of new challenges and opportunities has driven her to try new things, explore new business avenues, and expand her reach to new markets. Sheila loves the tech and business side of the process almost as much as the making of the physical thing. So welcome in, Sheila. There we go. Hey, Sheila, thanks for being with us.
Good morning, guys.
All right. So, Sheila, we got a little bit of in your bio there, but tell us a little bit more about how you got involved in the industry and how you got where you are today.
So I'm at midlife, so I've been in doing my thing that I've been doing for quite a while. So I'm not going to give you a complete and total history, but I've been sewing practically my whole life. When I was a tiny little girl, we stayed with my grandparents for a couple of years while my mom was ill, and I guess to keep me busy, my grandmother stuck me in front of their sewing machines. I couldn't even reach the floor, but I was hooked. I mean, I guess they knew that that would be a thing that meant something to me. And so I would sit for hours in front of their sewing machines, and they would draw things on, dishcloths, and I would sew around it. And so literally I've been sewing. I was 5 years old, the first memory I have of it. So it's been nearly my entire life.
Wow.
And, I was just hooked. And I really have always been fascinated with the making process. I mean, people make things like civilizations don't get built unless people are making things. We're making houses, we're making, garments, we're making furnishings and shelters. But we don't just make things. I mean, we make them beautiful. We embellish the things that we make. They're not just functional. And that process of why we do the thing and then do extra has always been so fascinating for me. I love that about how we can do a thing that we have to have, but make it better. It's not just the thing that we need. And so I think in every part of the process that I've been involved in, as my sewing career has changed and evolved over the years, it's really been a deep dive into why are we doing this? Yeah. And I think lately, about a year ago, a friend recommended a book by Thomas Nauer, who's a quilter, and it's called Why We Quilt. And he talks about this whole why do we make a quilt? Why don't we just have a blanket? And he talks about this time when he was learning to quilt, and somebody challenged him to do it. And he got the quilt done, and he held it up, and his 2.5-year-old daughter looked at it and said, "Is that for me?" And he said, "Yes." And so she ran to him and wrapped herself up in the blanket and in his embrace. That's really kind of sweet. But what's really significant about that is that she ran to him. She's on the autism spectrum. And so she hadn't enjoyed an embrace from her father before, ever. And so that connection with people in a way that it's just a blanket. I mean, really, but it's not just a blanket. It's never just a thing. It's never just a t-shirt. It's never just a keychain or whatever it is that we're making. It's never just that thing. And that whole process has really been a key part of the way I approach what I want to do at the moment. So for the last 4 years, about 4 years, I've been digitizing embroidery designs. And that why behind what I'm doing, what I'm making, is really important. So I make things for people, for different kinds of people. I do custom designs for people that need their logo done. I make designs for people who sell at craft shows. And then I make designs for people that are just hobbyists. And whatever their reason is, I really try to keep in mind that those whys, like that why is really important to me. So I started embroidery because I have kids and I wanted to put their name on stuff. But the why behind it is really the thing. Like that why, like some of my kids have weird names. My name is always spelled wrong at things. So I never had anything with my name on it. And I wanted my kids to have things with their name on it. And from where I came from, embroidery is the way to do it.
There you go.
So that's kind of how I ended up here. In a nutshell, but I've always been really fascinated by the process of how we get from an idea to a finished product.
Yeah. Wonderful.
No, your grandparents didn't have a whole room full of 5-year-old girls sewing and making things, right? Because that would be wrong.
I think when I was like younger, I tried to figure out how can I make things and sell them. I mean, so that was always percolating in there. And then, at a certain point in life, it was time to do it. So here I am. I'd make things.
The entrepreneur gene, right?
Nice. So what a wonderful journey there and story. I actually got a little choked up during bits of it. So that why is so important to us, right? It is that emotional connection. And that's what I love about our industry is that that it is more than, like you said, it's more than a shirt, a keychain, or whatever. There is that emotional connection that people are making with it. And I think making sure that that is a story that we tell and that we keep that at the front of mind also helps us understand why we need to charge what we're worth. Right. So that's a whole different thing that we could get into a little bit, but I want to talk to you more about this idea of the creative process. We talked about it when we were talking about what we were going to talk with you about, but also you mentioned it a little bit here. What, and looking at your offering online, we know that you consistently create these new designs and concepts. So how would you describe your approach to this creative process?
Well, first of all, let me just say that if without a guide or without some sort of overarching outline, I'd be all over the place. And there are times when I kind of get out of my lane and I decide I need to do everything. And really, I have a general outline of the kind of things that I need to focus on that kind of keeps me in the press. So I set out a couple of years ago some things, based on the creative process is really kind of a general outline, like the scientific method. I mean, it's really very similar. And I think I just learned that online. I mean, thank God for the internet. But I really, in order to bring the idea of having my own embroidery designs into the market, I really needed kind of a roadmap. And so for me, that was examining the creative process or the method of getting there, and then like putting in what I wanted to do, like how I wanted to get there. And so I kind of wrote it down a couple of years ago, and I went back to my notes. I found them, and then I went back and said, I thought I would just share. It's kind of like, the idea, you need courage first. You need courage to say the thing out loud and like make the thing happen, and deciding if it's worth bringing to the market. And you don't know unless you say it out loud, unless you speak it to someone, even just putting it out there on the internet. But a key part of that courage is connecting with other people. So connecting with other people to bounce your ideas off of, finding other people that are on a similar journey. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but finding people, connecting with other people, and then continuing. So these are all C. It's an alliteration thing. But continuing to test it out and to persevere through roadblocks, and then refine your product, revise the process, and then going back to your community, coordinating. So that's my next one. It's like coordinating, using your community to help overcome the obstacles that you found. And then also, and probably most importantly, using that community to help cheer you on. I've in my digitizing part of life, I've been really blessed to find other people that do similar things to what I do. We're not making the same kinds of products, but we're making digital designs. And when I started doing embroidery, it seemed to me like there was a lot of competition. Like people were always worried about somebody's going to steal my idea. Well, what I've learned, like, there are so many ideas. We don't have time to steal anybody else's idea because we have too many of our own to ever get out there, right? So I found a group of designers, men and women, who really value that community over competition thing. And we share ideas. We help each other through parts of the embroidery process, or even just the way we reach out and do our business. I mean, it's been a really great community of people that really encourage each other, encourage me. I mean, I've learned so much, and I don't think that I would be as courageous in the process without that community. And then the last part of my creative process is the completion, seeing your idea come to fruition, seeing it out in the world, and seeing other people enjoy it and benefit from what you've produced. And so when I think about, even when I think about starting a new thing, I kind of go back to that same cycle. It's really a cycle of how I can stay focused to get the idea all the way to the end. And I think that's for somebody that's a creative, we have so many ideas. They're not all ever going to come out at the end, but some of them are, and figuring out which ones are worth pursuing and which ones are worth finishing and then actually doing it, that's just thrilling. I mean, that's so amazing to me. And that's the way the world moves along and the way history happens. So I think it's just fun.
Well, you mentioned getting out of your lane. Aaron and I always stay in our lane. Great, Aaron. Oh, wait, no, we don't.
Never.
I'm always passing when it's a solid yellow line. So, but we're all about education here. I know that you've listened to our show, and so you know that two regular guys talk education all the time. Let's talk a little bit about how you share with individuals and businesses this creative process. How you explain to people how they can develop their own creative process.
Ooh, well, so I guess that's a thing that I haven't really defined in my lane. I have a Facebook group for people that are my customers and friends. And we talk a lot about how to make the thing, how to get their thing that they want to make out onto the market. But I don't know that I've really done a whole lot of explaining the whole process to people. I'll talk about it all day long if you get me one-on-one. And I frequently have conversations on the side and private conversations with people about it.
You just don't have it out there, step 1, step 2, step 3 for them. You
No,
talk about it on a broader scale.
I think that seems like a new product.
Sounds like it.
I'm going to the USPTO right now. I'm putting
hold a moment. I need to buy that website. So, all right. So let's get a couple of comments in from the regulators here real quick. Christine said, I love that. Creatives do have a lot of ideas. The skill comes from figuring out which ideas are the ones that will work. From Christine Shreve. Thank you, Christine. And Dean says, just like how people are worried when someone new opens up shop, I always say there's enough business that you don't have time to worry about them. Yeah, I think Dean's point there is great in that, yeah, if you're spending all of your time worrying about somebody else's business, then you're not spending enough time worrying about your business. And in fact, inside of our success group, we call that whole concept the quapetition. I actually brought that from my volleyball world. The coach of the men's national volleyball team had used that phrase. They've got all these guys or gals, depending on which team, that are competing for positions on the court, but they're also supporting each other to make their team the best team that it can be possible. So it's that idea of quapetition is what we call it.
So you co-opted the word co-opetition.
But I gave him credit for it the first time, and then
the first time, exactly right.
That's how we do it.
Aaron, I'm doing a screen printing class tomorrow, and this is something that comes up. Just what Sheila's saying, that somebody will go, well, when they introduce themselves, I don't know if I really want to talk about what my business plan is, because number one, I have the greatest T-shirt idea ever. And number two, I'm afraid someone's going to steal it from me. And I'm sitting there in my mind going, no, you don't. I already know 5 people are doing exactly the same thing. And 2, no one here is going to steal your idea.
Nice. All right, Sheila. Well, speaking of education here, I know you feel strongly about educating customers about how to recognize quality embroidery, because that's what you're into. So what are the most important things you tell customers to look for when they're looking for quality embroidery?
Ooh, that is really good. So for newbies, people that are just starting in embroidery, and I love that I get to interact with some of those people. One of the things that I find that is really a struggle for them is that they don't really know what they want to make. Maybe they see something at like at the mall or online, and they think, I want to make that, but they don't really know the process of how to make it. And so when I make a design for somebody like that, I try to be really careful to make sure that I'm including good instructions with it. And we hear lots of places online. I think I have an echo. Let me see if I can fix that.
Yeah, maybe turn down the volume on your computer just a hair. It might be picking up some of that. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
We didn't have this before the show, so
Okay, let's see if that's better.
there we go.
So I try to give a really thorough and detailed tutorial with the designs, especially if it's something that's not really something that everybody makes. Having a good guide to get you from the start to finish of a product is really important. We do video tutorials in my Facebook group. And they're just kind of off the cuff live, like, let's stitch this out, stitch it out with me, watch how I do it. And the good ones I can save and put on YouTube. But, as you know, sometimes when you're chatting and you're interacting with people online, those are just fun. They stay in the Facebook group. They're a reference for people that need to see it done.
Yeah.
And then I think connecting with people at things like Applique Getaway. So, Aaron, I met you there in person this last time,
Yeah.
and those kind of events are so fun for me as a maker, and not just because I can sell designs there, but because I meet people and I see them face to face, and I see what their real questions are. So they may ask, "How do I make a thing?" But they're really more concerned of, if I make this thing, what's it going to do for me? That's really the thing. And so a big part of the reason of my why is that I can make a design that is easy enough for somebody that's just starting to do it, but is also fun enough for somebody that's been involved in embroidery that it brings them a spark of joy. I think I got off the lane again.
No, that's okay. No, this is perfect. That's what this is all about. We want to travel down the path with you. This is great. So, yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Like, understanding what people are interested in, and having those, it gives us a better depth. And so, all right. So let me just make sure that we covered this, though. So when looking for a quality embroidery design, what is your number one thing that you look for?
My number one thing to look for is that your design runs efficiently, so that you don't have to do a lot of work on the end. So we have these giant, it's like a car, really. It's a marvel of modern technology. And when I first started doing embroidery, I think this is what spurred me on to get the digitizing thing out. I knew I wanted to digitize before I even had an embroidery machine. It was like, I'm going to do that. That is what I love that whole process. But when I started doing embroidery and I was purchasing designs from other people, there were jump stitches, and jump stitches are like things you have to trim afterward. You have to do a lot of work. And even if you have a fancy machine that cuts them for you, if you have to do a ton of cleanup at the end, that's no fun. We want the fun part, like an embroidery, especially a new person who's just starting out in embroidery. And I see it all the time on Facebook. Somebody just gets an embroidery machine, they stitch out a design, and then it's got all these lines going across it from where the designer may not have paid a lot of attention when they were building the design. And so for me, that's the number one thing. I hate jump stitches, and I will go to extraordinary lengths when I'm designing to make sure there are not excessive jump stitches. Sometimes you can't avoid them, but and the other thing I think for quality embroidery is that the thing that you're embroidering on needs to match the settings of the embroidery design that you've gotten. And so from the garment decorating world, if we embroider a logo on a shirt, there's certain things that the design needs to have in it so that it works right on the shirt and it doesn't fall apart in the wash. Right. With the In the Hoop projects that I tend to make a lot of, that's kind of my thing lately, is making something out of embroidery, like letting the machine create a 3D thing for you. It's really important to take into account the way the designer intended the design to work. So when I digitize for leather, I have a certain set of guidelines so that your leather's not going to get all stretched out of shape. When I digitize for plush fabrics like minkies or something with a lot of fibers and stuff that sticks out, I digitize with a certain kind of underlay so that it works really well. Those designs aren't always going to work on every kind of fabric. And so as a designer, I'm really clear about, this design is for minky, this design is for leather, or this design is for denim, because they all function differently. And if the person making embroidery designs isn't really thinking about where it's going to be applied, then I think they might want to back up.
Good point. Yeah. Really good point. So Eric actually shared in the comments here real quick, Terry, I like to think of digitizing as remote controlling my friend's embroidery robot.
Well, what I want to know is, and you guys can't see Eric like we can, and why it is he shakes his head yes at everything Sheila says and shakes his head no at everything I say. So
I may have been listening to Eric. I hope I've been listening well for the last several years.
Exactly right. You know, I love when you said though that I want to make something. I want to do this. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to make, but they've got that spark. I want to create something, and I guess it's our job, a lot of us as educators in the industry, to kind of focus that desire to be creative and help them down that path. And along those lines, you know, you talk about how much you love to teach the technique of it all, and this digitizing is for this product and this is for that project, but you also have talked about being passionate about helping people move from that hobby position to that business position. So tell us, what's the biggest challenge you find in having the challenge that a new seller has when they are trying to make that shift to a business? What do they trip over in the process?
I think we've already kind of mentioned it, but it's that idea that asking for a community of people around you and trusting that there are people that already know, they've already tried it before, and you could ask them questions, or you could become part of their community, and you don't have to worry about somebody stealing your idea. So that part, I think that mindset of really looking for and investing in and diving in deep with a community of people who have done it before, even if they're just a little bit further ahead of you where you are. If you can follow somebody else who's already done it and had, you know, whatever kind of success is different for everybody. So some people in my sphere they're small makers and they're on Etsy, and Etsy's a really great place to start. But, you know, Etsy has its own set of things. So if you are interested in selling on Etsy, then find a group of people that are already selling on Etsy and they've kind of hacked the system a little bit, and then and get in with them and find out ways that they make their Etsy work for them. Or if they're selling in person, find a group of people that are selling at craft shows or at local pop-ups, or they're in stores. Get in with those people and see how they've already done it. Because I found in the industry, even though there's this competition kind of mindset with the newbies that they have, that they're worried about this, among people that have been doing it for a really long time, they realize that there's plenty of business to go around. There's always new embroidery people starting. There's always somebody that they may have been designing, or they may have been appliquing an owl on a thing for 100 years, but they're sick of that owl and they want a new owl. And so there's always a different way to do a similar thing. And there's always a new creative way to use new materials in your things. So there's plenty of room for everybody. So we need more digitizers. We need more embroiderers. We need more beautiful embroidery products out in the world.
Yeah. That's awesome. That abundance mentality is like you said, in newbies, we see it all the time, right? It's lacking, but the people that have been around, they definitely get it in that part. So a couple quick comments from the regulators here. Penny says, love seeing Sheila in her element. So much great information. And then Christine, going back what we were talking about just a little bit ago, said, I love this part of the conversation. You have to consider the marriage of fabric, thread, stabilizers, and design to get a successful design. So awesome. All right. Well, let's keep moving forward here, Sheila. We're doing awesome. And but we've got lots more questions for you. So so let's talk about this. In your bio, we talked about exploring new business avenues and expanding into new markets. So let's talk about that experience and then the advice that you would have for other business owners as they look to expand into new markets.
Oh, that's big. We could talk for days about that.
Well, let's try to give it a couple minutes and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so I'll just say that when I started digitizing designs, when I started doing embroidery, I had an embroidery machine that came with all these cards and these CDs, and you bought them at a quilt store, which is great. They were super expensive, and so I found people online that were selling digital designs that you just downloaded and then you moved them to your embroidery machine. And so that market, the online market, was fascinating to me. So because I already had experience with Etsy, I started my stuff on Etsy. And then I built a website soon after that because it was a lot more profitable, first of all, but I could reach a lot more people because they were my own customers and they weren't Etsy's customers. So going into that new market was really fun. Now I'm at the point with my business where I'm actually it sounds so like backwards, but I have good reasons for why I want to do it. I'm actually getting designs ready to go into stores. So like I'm not using CDs. That's so old fashioned, but I'm using USBs. And then I'm getting my stuff in bundles in the local quilt store. So it's kind of like a full circle thing for me. But there's always going to be a customer base that isn't on the internet. I mean, even among younger people, there are so many. I have kids in college, and my daughter is rarely on Facebook because it's for old people.
Right.
Those people are the kind of people that are going to go into a quilt shop looking for new designs. And so I want to be there. I want to be in that market. So really evaluating. I thought in the past, I was like, no, that's an old fashioned way to do it. And the more I've gotten to know the quilt shop industry, which is a whole different thing, the more I want to be over there too. So the way I kind of follow my creative process through that whole thing. Like I got to have courage to talk to shop owners and to say, I'm going to have my designs in a quilt shop. I've got to connect with other people that have already done it. And there's some amazingly generous embroidery designers that have walked alongside of me and told me, where those connections are. And I've met in the quilting industry, which is a whole nother thing, a whole group of pattern designers who regularly bring new patterns to the quilt market. And embroidery is kind of a thing that comes out of the quilt market for the hobbyists. So those quilters start to do embroidery. So that's how I've kind of ended up like, I need to get back into those stores. I mean, I love spending time in there just for my own fun. But it's really, it's that community thing. Like, where are you going to find the people that speak your same language, that enjoy doing what you do?
Right. Exactly right.
So I encourage, in my Facebook group, we have people that want to sell. And so I encourage them to really think outside the box. If they've said, oh, I can't get $5 for an embroidered shirt in my area. Well, then let's figure out where you could get more than $5 for that embroidered shirt. Maybe you need to branch out and think about online, selling online, and getting over that mindset roadblock. Is really kind of, it's a fun process to walk alongside somebody with. And because when they see the possibilities, like, I'm not just limited to this little market where I can't get $5 for a product. Okay, well then that's not where your market is. You're going to make something beautiful, but you're not going to sell it right here. You're going to sell it somewhere else because, can I say this part now? I mean, I'm going to say this at the end too, but like, if you look at what people buy at the mall, or I don't know if y'all still have malls where you are, but if people buy designer luxury goods all day long, whether they can afford them or not.
Yeah.
And I started out making designs for in the hoop keychains. So it's a little embroidered thing on leather or vinyl, and then you turn it into a key fob or a backpack tag or something. Well, Kate Spade, there's Kate Spade's store in our mall here that sells keychains all day long, starting at $79 up to $129 for a keychain. That's my competition. And I tell people that use the designs that I make for them, that's their competition. Their competition is not a Walmart or Target keychain.
Yeah.
So really thinking about it's okay to spend time investigating, like where are people buying those things at that price, so that you could sell them at that price too.
Yeah. That's awesome. Great advice. Thank you, Sheila.
Well, we're getting down the road in our podcast here, and speaking of, Aaron saw a new podcast in your future. So talk to us a little bit about that, and what void in the marketplace are you looking to fill with a new podcast?
I'm looking to fill the void in the podcast for people that want to talk about embroidery, and Applique Getaway isn't for another 4 months. So, people that have their thing, like y'all could talk about t-shirts or screen printing or sublimation. Like we could talk about that all day long. Yeah. And there are people that want to talk about it with us. And in the embroidery world, there's only a few people that are talking about good embroidery, building your small embroidery business from the very beginning. They're not taught. There's only a couple of people that are doing that. And since that's a passion of mine, one of the groups of people that I work with is a group of ladies that we formed Embroidery Designer Mall. So like the mall. And we provide a spot for people that have been selling their designs on Etsy, but Etsy's I love Etsy. I've been on there since it started, but there's some things and there's some quirks, and the way they treat digital sellers is a little, it's a thing. Yeah. So we've provided a little marketplace for them to sell their designs on there. It's been a little bit of we are learning things on the way as we build our catalog with these designers. And so we thought one way that might be a fun way to reach some of the same embroidery clients that we've been working with for years is to just provide a different kind of content that's not out there yet. So there's not really a content that talks with the hobby, small, super small, I guess it's a micro business when we're doing it out of our house. There's not really a podcast that talks to those people and that really gives them the kind of insider information that I wish I had when I was starting. That connection that we can make with those customers, I think will really be significant for us continuing to build the Embroidery Designer Mall. So the Rethread podcast, like when you have to rethread your machine. Get it?
Like it, yeah. It's good.
That's what we're going to use that for. That bit of content is for that audience. And hopefully I think it'll be a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun learning about all of the parts of putting a podcast together. And we've already encountered a set of challenges, but it's okay. None of it is insurmountable. And so we just move forward. We've committed to 3 episodes before we make any evaluations. So
there you go. Yes. Yeah. That is the challenge with podcasts, is that people will get the first, 2, 3 there. That there's a lot of stats out there in the podcast world about the 3 episode podcasts available. So just keep going. Don't give up. Trust us. We're examples here.
You'll find yourself 9 years later saying, "Man, what did we talk about every Friday for 9 years?"
Awesome. So, Sheila, that's going to be available when you guys are ready to launch at rethreadpodcast.com. Is that correct?
Yes, that's where to find us.
Awesome. Well, speaking of where to find you, we've had some great information here. I know you're going to also bring us 5 things, so don't go anywhere. But to kind of wrap up this section here, tell us where people can find out more about you, your designs, all this amazing stuff that you've been telling us about. People want to connect. So where do they do that?
Well, I'm like you, I'm all over the place. So yes. Facebook is where I like to hang out. So I'm on Facebook at Designs by Baby Moon. I have a Facebook page and a Facebook group. I'm also with the Embroidery Designer Mall. So that's on Facebook. There's a page, a group at embroiderydesignermall.com. And then I also do some work teaching for a fabric company, Shannon Fabrics, which makes Minky. And so coming up in a couple of weeks, I get to teach for them periodically. And so I can even meet you at a quilt shop and teach you things there. So that's a whole different thing. But that's a fun part of what I do, and also at Applique Getaway. So I love participating in Applique Getaway, and in the second weekend of November, I believe,
Sounds about right.
there's a virtual event for Applique Getaway, so I'll be there too.
Awesome. Yeah, Christine, give us the details in the comments there. But yeah, Applique Getaway, like you said, where I got to meet you in person, and that was awesome to do that. Great. Well, excellent. Check all that out, and make sure that we'll get all those links into the show notes here after the show as well. So if you want to go over to the 2 Regular Guys, that's 2regularguys.com. You'll be able to re-listen to the podcast version and check out all the links of where to find Sheila. So look for that happening this weekend. But Sheila, we really appreciate you bringing in the 5 keys for us. In fact, before we get you to that, as a reminder for all of the regulators, everybody listening in, we want your submissions of the 5 keys. So you can, send us a video of you sharing it. You can say, hey, I want to come on and share it. Whatever it is, send us an email with and Terry and I will read it. Whatever it takes. We want 5 keys or 5 things from you guys. And sorry, I get confused. So 5 things. So it's info@2regularguys.com is where you can reach us at. If you just want to email us there, or like Sheila and I, we're everywhere. So just find us in the social universe, right? All right, Sheila. So we're going to lead you into 5 things here and then turn it over to you.
Okay. Okay, so I've got 5 things that makers need to consider when they're figuring out what to sell and how to price things. So this is relevant to my audience, but I think we can pull things from it that anybody who is interested in bringing their the things that they make online. So the first one is to visit places where things that are similar to what you're making are being sold. For me, that means I have to go to the mall sometimes. And that also means I have to go into the high-end stores. I'm not necessarily going to Walmart, although I have to go to Walmart to get groceries. So, check things out while you're at Walmart. But makers are not pricing things to compete with Walmart. That's not our thing. We're visiting designer boutiques. We're visiting luxury goods stores. So we're looking to see what people are buying when they're in there. We're watching the trends. We're watching the fashion world. We're observing the kinds of things that the fashion industry has brought to market and where they're leading customers to go. And we just want to kind of get on ride their tailcoats, if you will. And as small business makers, we can bring it to the public a lot faster than a factory can. So visit the mall, see what people are buying, see what's in their hands while they're checking out, and watch and see. The second thing that we're going to do is put your own spin on your product. So when you see what people are making, we're not going to copy things. We're not going to copy a logo or a certain brand's specific style, whether they're, we're not going to make a Gucci handbag with a Gucci symbol on it, but we can make a bag, and we can make a thing that is beautiful and very, very high end, very couture. We have these amazing machines, and we can make things that are amazing. We can make blankets with our own creative spin on them. We can get custom designs digitized for us so that we have a completely unique product that no other maker will be able to have. Another thing, so this is number 3, start with a unique set of materials. We all have access to different materials. Maybe you don't have a big budget, and so you start with recycled jeans or blankets, or quilt coats are really popular right now. So you find a couple of old quilts and you make things out of them. There are a wide range of materials that you can start with to start your business. So that is one way to start to think about how your product would be different from everybody else's. Right now, the vintage handmade market among very young consumers, so think about those college kids or the early 20s, early 30s crowd, they love things that are repurposed and good for the earth. So there's a whole market of people that are just now coming into their own buying power that are going to love what you're going to be able to make when you think about repurposing things that are already out in the world. The other thing, number 4, is consider your pricing. Carefully consider your pricing. With the cost of materials and coming out of a pandemic, or maybe we're still in it, I don't know. But the global supply chain issues, the cost of everything is going up. It's okay to raise your prices too. I have to keep saying this to my people, and I feel like it'll be my theme song for the ages is it's okay to raise your prices. It's okay to make a profit. Kate Spade sells her keychains starting at $79. We can too. But there's a reason why. So if we don't price our things appropriately, we're not going to be happy about it at the end, and we're going to resent what we're making, and we don't want to be resentful. Look at I guess that kind of bleeds into number 5. Look at the price of things that are produced by factories or by large companies. Those Kate Spade keychains, they start at $79. The top end of them is $129. Now, I can't imagine paying $129 for a keychain, but that's my competition. So find somebody that is making something like you want to make and go look at the very top end and find those pricing. We can't compete with Walmart. There's no way, but we're not making Walmart quality products. Somebody that's making handmade stuff is making something that's going to last a lifetime. So ours are made with love. That's what I tell people. I said, well, it's made with love, and love costs a little bit more. So those are 5 things for makers to consider when you're pricing and bringing your products.
That is awesome. Wow, Sheila, thank you so much. Great job. Very much appreciate it. One quick question. I know it's in the comments somewhere, but Michelle Wilson asked, great information. What is Sheila's business page? I'm working and listening, so she couldn't see. Where can people find you there one more time?
They can find me at Designs by Baby Moon.
Designs by Baby Moon. Awesome. Sheila, thank you so much for your time today. What a wonderful conversation, and excited. I know you said we could talk about a couple of those things for a long time, so let's make that happen. Let's do it again.
All right. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, Sheila. That's awesome. And thank you, Kate Spade, for setting the standard on key fobs. And I was sitting here listening to it thinking, I'll bet my daughter Riley at 21 owns one of those. So
that you've paid for.
Probably. Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, that was awesome. Well, let's close up here with just kind of a couple of updates on what we've got going on. I know you mentioned your screen printing class and stuff like that, but let me share Eric's here real quick, if that's good by you, Terry. So Eric has got his show that you can join him at 2:30 Mountain Time. For those of you that function in center of the universe time, that would be 3:30 Central Time. But it's called The Take Up. It's an awesome experience. And today is episode number 87, Specialties That Shine, Metallics and More. His titling is really, really good.
I know.
So I like it. Today he's going to talk about all the specialty threads and materials we can use to add some sparkle and then also how to tame them. So if you want to head over to ericcampbell.com and click the Take Up tab at the top for the playlist and where to join, you can find him on Facebook and YouTube and all those great places, but it's easiest just to go from ericcampbell.com. So what about you, Terry? You've got some screen printing classes coming up here. What's on the horizon?
I do. This weekend, Saturday and Sunday, I have my complete screen printing business course at Workhorse Products right here in Phoenix. I think we have 2 seats left. If anybody wants to come to Phoenix, I did get a call from somebody in Montana that might be signing up for those. But hey, jump in there first.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll be doing that same class at Atlas Screen Supply in Chicago on November 6th and 7th. And Aaron, and I'm working right now on my screen printing class schedule for 2022. So I'm
don't say it, Terry.
I know. I had to go through and compile all the trade shows and things like that, and then pick out the weekends that I still had available to do classes. So that's hopefully up on my website, terrycombs.com, hopefully within the next 10 to 14 days. And how about you, Aaron? What do you have coming up?
Well, I've got some good stuff coming up. Let me just share one more quick regulator note here because I want to make sure that we get this in there before we close out. Bevy Jean said, thank you, Sheila. I've been given a lot to think about. So yes, I definitely.
Very nice.
Thanks to Sheila for all that. For me, coming up here in 30 minutes on the nose almost here. We've got the half with Eric Campbell and myself. And it's the only time that Eric and I will be not into overtime, right? It would be 30 minutes, no exceptions. And it's a really fun time to just, we don't have an outline. We don't have a specific topic where we show up to talk about. We actually are there to answer any questions. It's an open Q&A from people that are tuned in and listening, or just whatever is on Eric and I's mind if nobody else has any questions. So if you guys want to show up and direct this program, we'd really appreciate that. It's happening. You can find it at liveosg.com, which is the YouTube page for our success group. Or while you're there on YouTube, you can also search up Eric Campbell, E-R-I-C-H Campbell. And that way you can subscribe, like, smash the button, whatever they say over there, right? On YouTube. And half and half of the half, Dale says. So yeah, that's happening. And then you can also find it on Facebook, facebook.com/Our Success Group Pro, or again, search up Eric Campbell there. So that's what I've got coming up for as far as the show. Again, now in 29 minutes. Also just wanted to share with folks what we're doing over at Our Success Group. We support overwhelmed small business owners that have limited time, and by providing critical, actionable resources and training based on my Success Principles certification. So we found that after those businesses become part of our OSG community, with the new resources available to them, they have more confidence in their business. They have clarity about how to succeed and are making more profits. So if you'd like to check out what we've got happening over at Our Success Group, you can get over and check out the upcoming trainings that we have actually coming up here at facebook.com/groups, OSG Business Basics, and then the events tab there. It'll be in the links that you guys will see online as well. So that's kind of what we've got coming up, all the trainings that we've got scheduled for the rest of 2024 for OSG members, and all sorts of exciting stuff. So we've got masterminds, blah, blah, blah. I could talk about it for hours, Terry. You know.
We could talk about anything for hours.
That's true. Good point. Good point. All right, Terry. Well, we have come to the close of another show. We want to really thank Sheila Ryan for her time and all the valuable information. Make sure you are checking her out. Designs by Baby Moon is probably the best place to start, but she's everywhere, just as we talked about. So thanks again, Sheila, for your time today.
Absolutely. We also want to thank our show producer, Eric Campbell. Thanks, Eric, for sitting in for me last week and for keeping the mics on and the wheels turning here on our show, and the soon-to-be purchased website, ericcampbellspartyboat.com.
Oh, my. We've got shows. We've got websites. Man, we're just all these ideas, right? Like Sheila was saying, we've got so many ideas and not enough time to get them into action. But Terry, next week we will be joined by Todd Downing, and he's going to talk about the myths and realities of DTF printing. He's been involved. In fact, he offers DTF services. So he's seen all of the pitfalls, the challenges, the trials, the tribulations. I was telling him the other day, it reminds that this whole DTF market right now reminds me of the DTG market when you and I started back in 2004, right? This whole kind of wild west going on. So he's going to help us break that down a little bit.
And you know, Aaron, just like DTG, just like anything else, it seems so simple, but there's a little more to it than meets the eye. So I'm really looking forward to having that conversation. And it is the buzz of the industry right now.
For sure. So looking forward to that next week, Terry.
Absolutely. Until then, I'm Terry Combs. He is Aaron Montgomery.
And we are the Two Regular Guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to Two Regular Guys. Check out our website at tworegularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/tworegularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/tworegularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, tworegularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.